It's 1692, and in Salem, Massachusetts, Giles Corey is being crushed to death. On purpose. He's been accused of witchcraft, and he's being tortured because he refuses to enter a plea. Over the course of 3 days, Corey lays pinned between the earth and a board that is slowly being covered with stones. He is periodically asked how he wishes to plead, guilty or not guilty, but he remains steadfast. On the 3rd day, he is asked again. He answers simply by saying, "More weight." Then he dies. It's 2022, and Mark Zuckerberg is spending a staggering amount of money on the metaverse. The company's share price has been decimated. Major shareholders are writing him open letters, and Jim Cramer was near tears on national television.
I had thought there would be an understanding that you just can't spend and spend right through your free cash flow. And I didn't get it. But David, what did I get wrong? I trusted them, not myself.
They want him to say that the spending will stop, but those words will not cross his lips. On the company's most recent quarterly call, here's what he said instead.
We expect Reality Labs expenses will increase meaningfully again in 2023.
More spending. Giles Corey is a hero. Mark Zuckerberg is one of the most despised people on the planet. But maybe just for right now. This is not a video about history so much as it is a story about narrative. Something seems wrong. I had spent almost zero time in my life thinking about Mark Zuckerberg, but since I've latched onto this disconnect, now I can't stop. And yes, I know Zuckerberg did end up cutting 11,000 jobs recently, but we're too far down this road to turn back now. We admire people who suffer but persist. This applies to all realms. The story of The Big Short is thrilling not because Michael Burry and company were right, it's because they were ridiculed and nearly lost everything. Nike was born from the University of Oregon track team and embodied by the spirit of Steve Prefontaine. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift, he said. At the 1972 Olympics in Munich, he ran to win, and in doing so, doomed himself to faltering in the final straight, staggering to track and field's most famous 4th place finish. These characters, real or imagined, populate the stories towards which we gravitate. They are heroes. Joseph Campbell wrote The Hero with 1,000 Faces in 1949, where he argued that humanity shares a monomyth. In other words, our stories follow a pattern because it's a rhythm that we crave. This is the hero's journey. We all know it, even without knowing it. And I think this is why there's alarm bells going off in my head when I look at Zuckerberg's current situation. Is he doomed, or is he just traversing the darkest depths of the hero's journey, following an arc that's nearly 20 years in with another 20 to go? Maybe. Life imitates art, but only so often. But using the lens of the hero's journey as laid out by Campbell, let's see where we've been, where we are, and where we might be going should this narrative play itself out. If you like this kind of video, you might want to check out my video on Enron and the 5 stages of grief. Campbell breaks this hero's journey into stages. There's some disagreement on how many there actually are, but we're going to speedrun one of the most commonly cited versions, which has 12. The ordinary world. Mark Zuckerberg is a bright kid who is accepted at Harvard, where he is studying computer programming and psychology. The call to adventure. He creates a website called The Facebook for connecting Harvard students and alumni. It is immediately successful. The refusal of the call. Zuckerberg must feel the power that's coming, but he tries to remain grounded. He famously uses a business card that contains the phrase, "I'm CEO, bitch." Meeting with the mentor. Sean Parker, who had created Napster, joins Facebook as president and introduces Zuckerberg to Peter Thiel, a member of the PayPal mafia who becomes an early investor. A few years later, Sheryl Sandberg joins as COO and acts as the adult in the room. She gets the company to focus on profit and not just building cool stuff. Crossing the threshold. Facebook IPOs on May 18, 2012. Zuckerberg no longer just has to focus on his product and profits, he now has to worry about stock price and shareholders. Tests, allies, and enemies. Facebook's cool factor is on the decline as people's parents and grandparents start joining. To combat this, the company acquires Instagram in 2012 and WhatsApp in 2014. The website-based product also realizes just in time that it needs to pivot to mobile. Later on in 2014, there's another less obviously synergistic acquisition, but it will become critical to the story. Oculus, maker of virtual reality headsets. Separate from traditional business concerns, Facebook finds itself at odds with basically everyone. In America, Facebook is alternately a harbor of hate speech and conspiracy that helped Donald Trump get elected, and a censor of voices and ideas that cost Donald Trump re-election. As a result, there are no more allies to be had. Any attempt at future acquisitions is immediately blocked by the FTC. Approach to the innermost cave. Apple implements privacy changes that make it harder for Facebook to track and target users with advertisements. TikTok emerges and siphons off an entire generation of users. While Facebook is still very profitable, Zuckerberg realizes that if he doesn't act, Facebook is on its way to suffering a death by 1,000 cuts. It will be a cigarette company, squeezing revenue from a declining user base, all the while being reviled by the public. There's nothing wrong with that outcome per se, and if Zuckerberg chose it, cut spending and started paying a dividend, it would be a decision applauded by many, but he would not be on the hero's journey. The Supreme Ordeal. Here is where we are. Facebook has become Meta. It's called upon the once oddball acquisition of Oculus to lead the way forward with the goal of building an extension of reality accessed and curated by Meta. Zuckerberg is risking it all on this, a future that many are adamant they don't want. Seizing the sword. This is where we could be going, at least if this were a movie. I'm not saying we are or are not, but the consensus that Zuckerberg is evil, Facebook is dying, and the metaverse is dumb is just so strong. In markets, at least, that means a reversal is coming. Meta creates a category-defining product. I keep thinking about this quote from a Verge article about Zuckerberg's AR glasses project, what seems like the real goal, beyond the VR headset. There's a sensing device worn on the wrist that pairs with the glasses, and the experience, according to the early testers, is one of the most impressive tech demos they've ever experienced. Whatever that is the portal to Meta's metaverse. The road back. Meta successfully completes the pivot for which it was named. The world's biggest social network has become the architect of the next internet, but in order to return to its former financial glory, they must deal with an old nemesis. Apple releases a competing glasses VR AR project. They choked Facebook's ad revenue, and now they're trying to do it again. But wait, this is why Meta was spending all that money. They soaked up enough talent from the marketplace, often poaching directly from Apple, that their hardware holds up. Resurrection. Meta, once again a financial success, Zuckerberg somehow revives his personal reputation. Maybe with interviews like the one he did on Joe Rogan, where he comes off as more human, probably just with the passage of time. He learns, rather than interjecting himself in politics and trying to change the world, it's easier to just be rich. Return with the Elixir. It's 2035 and Mark Zuckerberg is 50. His oldest daughter is a bright kid who's been accepted at Harvard. She just got her roommate assignment, puts on her AR glasses, and says hi. Thanks for watching, guys.